Hello and welcome everyone to this Future-Proofing STEM Education series organized by SEER project in partnership with Scientix and STEM Alliance. My name is Isidora and I will be your moderator tonight, and with me I have Joanna Karagiosov and Miriam Molina that will tell us more about 21st century pedagogies for the planet. You will notice that your cameras and microphones are off. So please, if you have any comments or questions, or you have any difficulties with Teams, please write us in the chat, and my colleague Diego will try to help you as fast as he can with any issues. Before we continue with our assigned program, please sign the signature list. You can either do it by scanning the QR code or clicking on the link that is on the slide, or access it from the chat because my colleague now shared it. As previously mentioned, this event is organized by SEER project in collaboration with Scientix STEM Alliance. So Scientix is an initiative of European SchoolNet, and it's the largest community for science education in Europe. So Scientix aims to promote and support collaboration among STEM teachers, education researchers, policymakers, and to provide a space for them to exchange, collaborate, and learn from each other. And of course, in the end, inspire students to take part in STEM, to pursue STEM careers, take part in STEM activities, and more. You can find more about Scientix on the Scientix website, but Scientix also provides a lot of services to its communities, and it provides community of Scientix ambassadors. We have more than 1,100 teachers that are part of this network. You have some Scientix ambassadors in your countries, and this is a community that helps exchange practices and good experiences with STEM education and how to help you implement them in your classroom. In addition, they provide support through the Scientix portal, online campaigns, STEM School Label, and Scientix TV. And in addition, we provide training and professional development offers such as webinars like these ones, workshops, and of course, massive open online courses, better known as MOOCs, that you can follow on UN Academy platform. In this future-proofing STEM education series, we have also one more partner, which is the SEER project. And the SEER is a new funded initiative which collaborates with industry partners and education experts to create a roadmap to help education stakeholders strengthen STEM education across Europe. How they're doing this? They're doing it by providing some policy recommendations for policymakers to improve STEM education, to improve STEM policies and curricula, provides professional development courses, professional development offers, such as workshops. And of course, they provide curriculum revision, helps industry get involved into STEM education, improvement of STEM education. And the series essentially is trying to remove barriers to STEM education and promote adoption of STEM education throughout Europe. During the event, we will explore how these new pedagogies are a valuable tool to introduce societal and environmental changes, both in formal and non-formal education. And we will also discuss how these approaches can help us promote holistic learning and environmental awareness through topics such as ocean literacy or nature-based solution or climate change, and how all these topics and all these pedagogies can support the 21st century learning objectives and development of 21st century skills. Without further ado, we have Joanna Karagiosov tonight to help us learn more about these pedagogies. So Joanna, please tell us more. What are these pedagogies and how we can use them?
Thank you, Isidora. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I've had the opportunity to work on the SEER that Isidora just introduced to you, which is focused, as you've heard, about integrating STEAM education all around Europe, but also on open schooling. So today I will walk you through the pedagogies that are behind these projects and the resources we produced to also help you integrate the ones that resonate more with you. But before we do that, just a little icebreakers. So I'm sure you've already played this game. So I would start with asking you a never have I ever question. So never have I ever heard of the terms STEAM education. You can reply whether you have heard of it or not. Now, there are two incentives here to be honest with your answers. The first is that the poll is anonymous, and the second incentive is that even if you didn't hear about STEAM education, your cameras are off, so you can still get to drink your wine or water or anything that you have with you. So let's see some of the answers. I see that 84% of people have heard of STEAM education, but there are some who haven't yet. And that's not a problem because we will go through it quite soon. But the majority of you is already quite navigated with STEAM. So I hope we will still add something to your understanding. Now, the second is never have I ever collaborated with a teacher from another subject for one lesson or a group of lessons. And I see that many of you already have collaborated, which is quite good because, and many, many more are answering yes, whereas quite a few did not, which is good because if you collaborated with a colleague to create a lesson in synergy, it means you're already on the right path to implementing STEAM education. So why is that the case? So creating synergies between subjects is one of the core elements that bonds the several frameworks in academia we have researched to attempt to answer the question, what is STEAM? And the first of these elements is the subjects that are involved in STEAM. So we define STEAM education when at least two different STEM subjects or one STEM subject and any other non-STEM subject are combined together. With any other non-STEM subject, we don't only mean arts, as you might have inferred. We include, of course, arts, but we also extend the field to any other subject that can include literature, the languages, or history, geography, social sciences, so on and so forth. And this is because we believe there is value in having an interdisciplinary approach that breaks the traditional silos of knowledge where usually subjects are taught in isolation. And with STEAM, what STEAM attempts to do is to promote an integrated approach where multiple disciplines are combined together to allow to apply the knowledge to address complex real-world problems. And this last concept, which is real-world problems, brings us to the second ingredient in the definition of STEAM education, which is the use of alternative pedagogies to allow you to integrate these subjects among themselves. So again, we have a little poll here just to understand the starting point, which is, I think it will come in a second, yeah. Which of these, let's say, options, according to you, correspond to project-based learning? And we will start from here. So I see that some answers are coming in. Some are answering a learning approach where students freely select a question and explore answers through the steps of the scientific method. So to the second spot, we have a learning approach where students work on a project involving complex tasks based on real-world problems, developing skills through inquiry and structured activities. Okay, I see we have many people replying to the third option, but in reality, problem or project-based learning corresponds to the second option. So let's go through both of them just to clarify a bit the differences between the two. It's true that they are quite interrelated, but when we talk about project-based learning, what's important is that learning is organized around a project or a problem that is grounded in the real world. And this can be quite similar to inquiry-based education. But what distinguishes it is that project-based learning takes a longer term perspective, and it's organized with a series of complex tasks that allow students to explore, investigate different solutions, and eventually come to the creation of either an output or a solution. Whereas what we have with inquiry-based learning, we still have students exploring a problem, and usually this problem or this question comes from their own curiosity, their own experience. But inquiry-based education is more focused on the process of researching the answer. And this can happen also in one lesson, whereas project-based learning is much more complex, and it involves usually several tasks in a row that end up with the formulation, let's say, of an output that can be, let's say, a machine, or we had some teachers implementing a seismographer, creating it from scratch and then analyzing the data. But what really, let's say, the common ground between these two methodologies is that in both of them, the teacher is a facilitator and the student is put at the center of their learning experience. And by giving them topics that are relevant to them because they are grounded in the real world, they acquire ownership of this issue and task at hand. So if you want to read more about STEAM, the STEAM definition and the pedagogies, how to integrate them and what resources are available for them, we have created the STEAMit framework. STEAMit was a project that is, let's say, the grandfather of the SEER we introduced to you, and the research we conducted with STEAMit is informing the roadmap that Isidora talked about before.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for presenting these methodologies. But I wanted to ask you about the skills. I see that you mentioned in the title 21st century skills. So what is the link between these pedagogies and the 21st century skills?
Thank you, Isidora. It was exactly what I wanted, like, let's say, what I wanted to say after this. It's that these pedagogies and STEAM education, in the end, aims to allow students to build 21st century skills. And to understand a little bit the connection between them, we should, first of all, define 21st century skills, which are the skills that students, a citizen, us, all of us need to have to navigate today's society. And as we know, today's society is usually characterized by issues which are usually complex, they are global, and they are interconnected. So if we think about any of such issue, the first thing that comes to my mind, it's still fresh in my experience, is COVID-19. So when COVID-19 struck, it affected several areas of our lives. It affected the economy. It affected people's, let's say, psychological well-being. But it also required biologists and researchers to look as soon as possible for a vaccine. So as you can see, problems usually affect various areas, and they require different fields of knowledge to come together to provide solutions. So what happens with STEAM is that by connecting subjects, we allow students to see how knowledge is usually, let's say, used and interconnected in today's society to solve today's interconnected problems. And we allow them to experiment not when they are out there, but in a safe environment. So we take a problem from the outside world, but we give it, let's say, we give it to them so that they can investigate, experiment, and by doing that, understand also what are the skills that they really need to build to provide effective solutions. So, for example, by trying to find a solution to, let's say, the effects of climate change on their local community, they might realize that it's not enough to have research skills, but that they also need to be able to communicate what their research has found. They might also realize that they need to interact with other students who are interested in different fields, so to use teamwork, and in the end have basic ICT literacy skills to be able to present these findings or research additional data. So this is the connection between interconnecting subjects through pedagogies such as project-based learning for the development of 21st century skills. Now, going forward to OutSTEAM education, while the SEER, as we said before, focuses on strengthening STEAM education, we have a specific focus on secondary school. At the same time, we have another project, OutSTEAM, that aims to build the foundation of interdisciplinary learning from the earliest ages. So OutSTEAM's main purpose is to introduce integrated STEM learning during early childhood. And the reason why it does that, it's because when children are the youngest, they are, let's say, naturally driven to exploration. They approach the world with curiosity and they don't look at it through the boundaries of different subjects. So they already have the holistic and unified approach that we try to promote with STEAM. So the idea of OutSTEAM is to take advantage of this drive and really embed it from the earliest ages. And to nurture this natural curiosity, OutSTEAM incorporates another powerful approach, which is outdoor learning. But Miriam will tell you more about outdoor learning later. Now, what's important to know about OutSTEAM is that although it's been just launching, it's currently working to create a MOOC and a toolkit of resources for teachers who wish to implement STEAM education with their youngest students. So if you wish, you can follow the project through the QR code and the link in the presentation. Now, outdoor education can be considered part of a wider and powerful approach, which does not only modify the traditional place where education usually happens, so outside of the school walls, but it proposes a whole different way of learning. And I'm talking about open schooling. So you will see that open schooling kind of connects everything we've seen up until now. Now, we've seen that, as I said before, there are different ways in which we can make the schools more open. The first one is by opening the physical spaces, so extending the learning environment beyond the walls, the school walls. But it's not just about bringing students outside of the school, it's also about bringing the community inside of the school walls. And this involvement can happen by opening the traditional task of teaching, for example, as you can see it in the yellow square, opening the teaching role not only to the teachers, but to members of the community. Now, what do we mean with the community? We mean informal, non-formal, or even formal education actors such as museums, researchers, universities, but also NGOs, government agencies, and industries that can come together and provide new expertise, fresh perspectives on the topics that are included in the curriculum. And this brings us to opening up the curriculum that, as we've seen together, can mean basing it on project-based learning, connecting subjects among themselves. And by doing that in an open schooling environment, it's possible to also take advantage of the expertise of the community members, not just of the teacher. So when we bring in...
Sorry, Joanna, to interrupt you. So this open schooling approach allows students to take more active role in the community matters and more active role in resolving some communal issues, such as climate change, correct?
Yes, Isidora, that's totally correct. So let's say that if we bring together the community, I mean, actually, this allows me to go to the next slide, because your question is kind of the center of the STEAM Learning Ecologies project that aims to do exactly this, like bringing the community together to solve a central problem. If you look at this slide, you will see that at the center of this visual, there are learners. And together with learners at the center, we can also imagine a real-world issue, because learners are tasked with solving a real-world issue that is relevant to them and to their local community. And as you said before, Isidora, they bring together for the solution of this issue different actors. So I mentioned them before. They can be museums, they can be universities, they can be industries or NGOs. And what these actors do is provide learners with support that can be in the form of resources or their expertise or even their spaces, let's say. So maybe they have laboratories where the students can go. And in doing so, they provide learners with more learning opportunities than the school alone could achieve. So yes, the community, by bringing together communities and schools, we actually create a bridge that allows for more meaningful conversation and more meaningful research for the solution of these real-world challenges that we are currently facing. And another project that also strives to advance research and, let's say, research in science by the involvement of the community is CROPS, that aims to grow citizen science in Europe. So schools can become parts of transnational communities of citizen science. And if you wish to learn more about what citizen science is and, let's say, listen from the people who experienced it firsthand, CROPS has created a podcast that can allow you to do so. And that's it on my side.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for this great presentation. I have so many more questions that I will ask you after we hear more about how to bridge these pedagogies with the education and real educational topics. So I will give floor to Miriam to tell us more about this synergy between the pedagogies and the topics in education. Miriam, please.
Thanks a lot, Isidora, and also thank you, Joanna, for your presentation. My name is Miriam, and I work as a project and pedagogical manager at the STEM department here at the European SchoolNet. I have the pleasure to work with Isidora and Joanna, and I'm very excited today about bringing the topic of green and blue education because, well, most of my work revolves around this approach, this topic, through many initiatives that we work at EUN. So yeah, how do we integrate this into STEM teaching, and how can we prepare students to tackle pressing global challenges that Joanna already mentioned? At the end of the day, we want them to be engaged and meaningful citizenship. So let's have a look. Now, what do we exactly mean when we say green and blue education? Let's break it down a little. At its core, it's basically a learning approach that integrates learning for environmental education, so focusing on sustainability, the green part of it, and ocean literacy, which is the blue, into STEM education. So green education emphasizes the sustainability part. It covers topics like biodiversity, bioeconomy, also the role of nature-based solutions. And blue education is centered more on ocean literacy, emphasizing the health of marine ecosystems and their importance to our global well-being. So why are these topics relevant in STEM education? Well, today students will face many challenges already now, from water scarcity to a change in the ecosystems. And we think that by adding green and blue education into STEM, we can provide students with a holistic view of the natural world, and we can show them that their scientific knowledge that they are learning at school, it can be applied to the real world. And we want to, as Joanna said, with the OutSTEAM project, we want to start as early as possible, since the youngest learners are already fascinated by the world around them. So what does it make? Yes, of course.
Sorry, these topics then help us contextualize education and make education and what we learn in schools more relevant to students and their surrounding.
Exactly, because you can learn about a math problem, thinking hypothetically about how many apples does Peter need to buy in the market, and this kind of things. But maybe it's better that actually we go to the market and then we see, oh, where is this apple coming from? And then we do the math problem related to that. So yeah, actually, this is what we want to do. And what makes green and blue education to us is indeed contextualizing it. But first of all, it supports also competencies. We want the students not only to understand, but also to care about their environmental impact. And we also want them to take action to benefit the planet. And indeed, like we were saying now, learning beyond the walls of the school in the real natural world open many possibilities for learning. And personally, I think that whenever it's possible, it's better to learn about nature in nature, right? And outdoor learning does exactly this. It encourages an experiential, hands-on approach, and it's, of course, beneficial at many levels for students and for teachers. And as we were discussing now with Isidora, it's important that we contextualize STEM. So it's perfect for green and blue education because it brings broader objectives like critical thinking, innovation, and system-based problem solving into the mix. And finally, we also want students to appreciate nature for its intrinsic value and develop critical thinking skills. We want them to be responsible, to have empathy. So basically, when they become the citizens of tomorrow, that our world is in good hands. Now, if we look here, it's a bit of chaos right now. I think this represents the landscape also on the internet. There are many green and blue teaching materials spread across 1,000 sites and platforms. And this makes it hard for all of us, for you teachers, to find what you need. Even for us here, actually, this is all the projects that at the moment we are working on at the STEM education department here at European SchoolNet. So it might get a bit overwhelming, but centralized repositories like the Scientix repository, it hosts a broad selection of these materials and more in one place. And it gives you filtering options. So as a teacher, when you use this repository, you are saving time. And it allows you to focus on adapting the materials to what you need rather than wasting time searching for them. So the Scientix platform really provides you with ready-made materials, with learning scenarios and other resources that are tailored already to green and blue education in an integrated cross-disciplinary way. So today we are going to show you some examples of what these projects offer, and we will learn about the pedagogies behind them. So let's start perhaps with blue education, since it's a bit more straightforward, because I think we can all agree that ocean literacy, this just means helping everyone to understand the importance of the ocean and our role also in protecting them. So with accessible resources, like interactive lessons or digital maps of the different oceans, this makes it easier for students to learn why do we have to care for them, and also about the impact that each of us have. So when you know about your power, you can also feel more connected to making better choices and supporting marine conservation. Because basically the ocean is home to many, many species. They have ecological balance, and yet there's a lot of threats around the ocean. For example, pollution, overfishing, and I think you have in mind probably more examples than me, especially if you are connected to the ocean. So protecting it means not only preserving the ecosystem, but also ensuring that they can continue to provide critical resources. Because, as I said before, we are deeply connected with the ocean. It regulates the climate. It produces oxygen. It's a source of food and also to employment to coastal communities. And it's just good for our well-being because it offers recreation, it has mental health benefit, and simply it's just beautiful. So there are many things from different subjects and topics that we can cover about the ocean. Now, when we look at the green education, we always think first about sustainability, right? But here we are doing much more than sustainability. For instance, bioeconomy. This is a growing field that uses biological resources like plants, like animals and microbes to develop sustainable products. So this field is really opening doors to careers in the future that might actually be interesting for your students. So like I said, we're using sustainability, but there are many things under this term, and some are quite specific. For example, I don't know if you've heard about the nature-based solutions. What are these exactly? Some of you might have heard it before. Some of you might think you know what it is. So I have a quick quiz for you. So based on your feeling or based on what you know, what of these options are, which one of these options is not a nature-based solution? Is it river restoration? Is it protecting old grown trees? Is it recycling or creating green roofs? Which one do you think is not a nature-based solution? Give it a couple of seconds. So as we can see, recycling is going first. More than half of you think that this is not a nature-based solution. Is it? Well, you are absolutely correct. Recycling is not a nature-based solution. It's a helpful sustainability practice, of course. It's great to do with the little ones in your school because it reduces waste, it conserves resources, but it does not involve harnessing the power of nature in addressing the environmental challenges that we face. Because NBS is basically taking a step forward, taking a step further, and we are restoring wetlands, for example. That's a great NBS solution. Or, we do this to manage floods or creating green spaces to reduce the heat in urban areas, or even protecting species. This is all part of NBS. So this NBS can serve as a powerful teaching example. Perhaps you could take your students and explore if they could create an urban garden, for example, to protect bees and pollinators. And this makes STEM learning relevant and accessible. And another thing that is deeply connected to NBS is moving beyond the classroom. So we encourage a whole school approach that makes green education a core value in your school culture. You can incorporate outdoor elements, outdoor learning, where students observe and they study the natural processes. And if not possible in the school, why not? See if you can take your students into nature around you. So now this is all great and all, but if we go back to one of the reality of the classroom is planning, and evaluating. So how can we measure these green and blue competencies really? How can we align these curriculum learning goals to our sustainable activities? So here you can see GreenCom. You can access it actually in your own language. This is the Sustainability Competence Framework created by the European Commission. So it focuses not only on knowledge, but going into the skills and the values that will translate into what we were discussing: empathy, responsibility, care for the planet. So this document can help you to plan your teaching and also support your students' progress.
And Miriam, so you mentioned nature-based solution, you mentioned bioeconomy, you mentioned what they are and what they entail, but how we can help teachers develop all these green competencies that you've been talking about now. So is there any resources that we can help them with? You also mentioned that Scientix is a huge repository. So what kind of resources we can find there, especially for bringing sustainability in the classroom?
Yeah, good question, because indeed what we were saying before is that there's plenty out there, but thanks to Scientix, you can find it in one place. So everything that I will be sharing today, by the way, everything is available on Scientix. So for example, one thing that can help teachers also to feel more confident is to have some training. So we offer many MOOCs that are available for you to take at your own tempo. And this is an example of how to learn about nature-based solutions. Now, this MOOC was very successful in the past, so we've decided to launch it again next year. It's not available yet. This is the first news getting out there. So if you want to keep an eye, follow the MOOC news, so you are one of the first ones to register. And together with training, I will say it's important, if you don't feel confident yet or you want to start from somewhere, is to perhaps have a look at a toolkit or some kind of resource about a topic that you want. So let's say that bioeconomy caught your attention. Well, actually, Gen B has a toolkit that has, resources from many ages, also for teachers and for other stakeholders. So you can have a look and see if you can find something related to careers or some materials that you can implement in your classroom.
And when it comes to bioeconomy, there is still a MOOC on Gen B, how to implement bioeconomy in your lessons that you can follow. Certification period will be soon over, but the MOOC will remain open, so you can go there and check out more as well about bioeconomy, what it is, and different resources to implement it in your classroom as well.
That's a great tip.
Yes, thank you, Miriam, for this. But what about blue education? Is there anything to help us bring ocean into the classroom, or are there any available resources on this topic? Again, on Scientix, can you give us some details about it, please?
Absolutely. I think I have something here, yes, about actually implementing new technologies. Before we were saying that we need to make ocean accessible to all, ocean literacy. So there's this European Atlas of the Sea, which is actually super engaging. We've tried also with students in the classroom. It works really well. So you can explore the areas around you, or even if your students feel interested about, I don't know, oceans really far away from them, this is a way for them to immerse learning and to overcome these barriers that, you cannot take outdoor learning to another continent that easily, but this might help you.
Very good information and very good tips. And what about outdoor learning? We heard about it in Out's team, we heard about it with citizen science. So is there any resources to help us take the students out of the classroom and engage them hands-on into these real-life experiences with sustainability?
Yeah, ultimately, I think outdoor learning is very important, but for some teachers and schools, this might be challenging because maybe they are situated in an area that is not accessible to see some green around them. But perhaps we can start from the playground, from greenifying the yard of the school. Or perhaps if you have the chance to, go one step further, you might want to plant your own tree. And Life Terra is actually helping you with this, because they have created this guide to help you plant the right tree in the right place. So it depends on the climate conditions, on the type of trees that are native to your area. So this is a very helpful and quite short, straight to the point guide that might be useful to start with your outdoor learning journey.
Thank you very much, Miriam, on all these tips and resources. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. But until we get some questions, I wanted to go back to Joanna. You mentioned that when you were explaining about SEER and the STEAM learning ecologies, the word STEAM. What you said that A in the STEAM stands for anything. Can you explain more about this? What is this anything?
Yeah, sure, Isidora. I can go back to the slide, I think. Let me do this, because we provided a little bit of a list. But maybe it would be more beneficial if I told you where our definition of STEAM comes from. So what happened in the SEER and in the project before in STEAMit was that we really wanted to understand the current state of things. And to do so, we went, let's say, in the research world, and we tried to understand what the research was saying about the definition of STEAM. And what we found out was that it was many things all at once everywhere. So there were different definitions, both of STEAM and of integrated STEM, that kind of overlapped, or some of them included A for arts, some others, they took a more broader approach. But what, let's say, put all this definition in accordance, they put them together, was the fact that interdisciplinarity is the core element of STEAM education. So we use A for anything, because there is value if not only considering arts that can bring creativity, but also all other subjects that are non-STEM, and that can help students develop other skills, or let's say get in touch with their personal interests. That can be history or geography, even sports can be combined with STEM subjects.
So, for example, if we use some digital cultural heritage resources in the context of our STEM lessons in maths and so on, this can help us create this integrated STEM approach, correct?
Yes, that's true. You can totally use cultural heritage as a topic. What's really important here is that we don't forget about the STEM part. So as I explained before, let's say STEM is all around us. Every problem that we might encounter can be seen under the lenses of science, mathematics, engineering, sometimes all of these subjects all together. So we should really, the tendency in STEAM sometimes is to really highlight the arts part and forget about the STEM part. But a very, very nice project would be, for example, trying to investigate also the architectural principles that are behind cultural heritage, for example. So looking into the maths behind it and the geometry, let's say. So yes, it's important to highlight this part. Let's not forget about STEM in STEAM.
And I would like to share just one experience we have from our Scientix ambassadors, and what I learned from clearly teachers that include STEM into their classes. Maybe they cannot do maths and explore mathematical equations, for example, but what they're doing is in their clear lessons is take STEM topic and learn about certain methodology or some topic from geography. They're learning new words in English, for example, if this is not their first language. So they're learning new words in English, they're learning about new terminology there and trying to connect these concepts with their concepts that exist in their own language. So for example, this is one of the ways that we heard teachers integrate STEM into non-STEM lessons. Thank you very much, Joanna, on these explanations. And Miriam, as a early childhood education teacher, have you ever integrated STEM into your classrooms, and how did you do it? Or maybe some reactions from your students if you did it, of course.
Yeah, actually, I forgot about that part when I presented myself. I have a background in early childhood education, so this topic is indeed very dear to me. So we did a lot of experiments, and you know, I had my planning. I had all the activities put in place. Maybe we had to be learning about shapes that week, but suddenly, you know, a butterfly came into the classroom, and then my students, the only thing that they could talk about was that butterfly. So what do? I just, you know, I get rid of my planning, and then we start learning about butterflies and insects. And I actually want to bring a comment back from the chat. So someone said, a participant said that early childhood, the younger learners have a very high sense of curiosity, and we have the chance to make many different projects by using it. So I think STEM, especially in the early stages of life, yes, we do have to plan, we have to follow the curriculum, but a lot of the times, if we follow their curiosity, if we spark that curiosity, or if they find it themselves, why not? We should follow it. So I did a lot of that during my teaching days, and it was fantastic to have conversations in related to STEM with them.
And have you ever involved the outer community in your lessons, or how did you involve it maybe?
Yes, for us it was a bit tricky because it was a school at the heart of one big city. So it was not always easy for the 2, 3, 4-year-olds to go outside. But a big resource was their families. You know, the jobs that the families, the parents were doing, and then we will invite some of them, and they will explain what they do in their daily lives, and they explain what kind of jobs they had. And they were very interested, first of all, to know about the parents of their friends, but also to see what kind of jobs, occupations are out there. So that was a big resource that it was not difficult to get, and it was very engaging. I also see in the chat someone saying that they have combined STEM with sports. I think that's great. If you have more experiences, please let us know. It is, like Joanna was also saying before, you know, movement sports, it's also a great way of involving science, because indeed everything is made of physics and mathematics, and it is useful, although for some of our students maybe it might seem overwhelming or too difficult at first. We just need to find where the interest lies in.
And when I was also, I'm an educator, so I also had some experience in early childhood education facilities, so in kindergartens. What it was very interesting for me regarding this arrangement with the communities and creating partnership with the communities was interesting that they used what they had around them. So for example, this kindergarten especially was very close to a museum. So they would collaborate and conduct some classes in collaboration with the museum, where they would either take the students into the museum and learn about the exhibition that was going on at the time, or the representatives of the museum would come to school and teach students more about what they do there, what they can learn in the museums, and so on. So Joanna, in the SLEs project, you were talking about in SLEs and crops as well, but you were talking about creating these partnerships. What do you think is the benefit of it, and how we can get those partnerships with outer communities, especially in schools that maybe don't have them close by?
Thank you for the question, Isidora. This is an important question that we had to ask ourselves in the SLEs project. So what happened until now was that we piloted 13 open schooling projects, so 13 SLEs, as I explained to you before, our partnerships with the outside world, outside community. And with these 13, with the experience that we gathered, we are now ready to move towards 100. So we are at this stage. And our experience kind of shed light on some tips and also challenges in engaging outside partners. So I would say that the benefits are, as you said before, Isidora, bringing the community in the classroom. So making learning truer and closer to other spheres of life that students are already experiencing. So when they go out of the school, students already interact with some of these actors. By bringing them inside, you make their learning more, let's say, meaningful, and at the same time, you have the chance to expand the amount of resources, of also equipment that certain stakeholders may provide. So a museum can provide spaces and knowledge, but an industry partner can also bring 3D printers. We saw that happening in one of our projects, for example. So resources, experiences, expertise, but also mentorship. So students can learn about careers and they can discover about certain jobs that they maybe didn't know about in the STEM field. Now, how do you approach them? That's another question. We understood that the secret is to start local, to start little, especially if a school doesn't have, let's say, an already established network. Start from the parents of the students who are part of these stakeholders, and then expand from there. So maybe the parents know somebody else that could be interested in this experience. And when you approach these actors, try to already have more or less an idea of what you want to do, without defining it too much, because the beauty of open schooling is allowing each partner to bring their ideas and their expertise in creating these learning experience for students, but to have at least the topic can allow, let's say, to make the conversation easier. And then what we've noticed is that when the project happens, then other people learn about it, hear about it, and they rush to be part of it because they see the value of involving the community and the schools together. So yes, I'm really excited about this this project. I'm sorry for over talking.
Joanna, I actually was curious about when you do reach out to these stakeholders and then you collaborate with them. Do you have positive reactions at the end of the partnership, or do they want to continue, or what's the kind of response from the other side?
It's usually very positive, because we have to remember, first of all, that we talk about stakeholders, but these are people. And when they see that students are interested about their jobs, they're interested in what they're doing, they also get motivated to continue this partnership. So yes, of these 13 SLEs that happened, many will be, let's say, replicated with some changes and tweaks and expansions. But yeah, many stakeholders decided to stay, and they brought in other people from their network, so other stakeholders they were in touch with, which was really nice to see happening, let's say.
Amazing. This is also the power of education and the power of this partnership, and how we can expand and again influence better students, teachers, and the wider communities and so on.
Absolutely.
Miriam, and this will be a final question. So take be brief, but please provide an answer. What do you think why are these partnerships beneficial also for teachers? We heard a lot about why they're beneficial for students, but what teachers can get out of this type of partnerships?
I think it's also empowering for us teachers to know that there are resources in the real world that are not that difficult to attain. At first, I think it might be overwhelming to get out of your comfort zone. But once you are in the routine of contacting people, you create your own network, your school is behind you, supporting you. I think it enriches learning much more. And on a personal level, waking up and knowing that that day you're going to a museum and, or someone is coming to your classroom to talk about, I don't know, engineering, then that must be also fascinating for teachers.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this response. I completely agree. And what I also saw in cases in schools where I did also participate and was a part of, that although they were struggling at first, they saw it as a very good opportunity for themselves to expand their own knowledge, to support their own teaching, to kind of develop themselves professionally and as individuals, maybe learn something new and help students, also spark that curiosity in students and in themselves and foster this curiosity throughout their teaching and learning. With that, we've shown you a lot of resources, a lot of information tonight. So I would like to give you a small homework. Please go to Scientix repository or any of the repositories that you've seen in the slides and find one resource that you find very interesting for you, that you think you can implement in your classroom, that would really spark the interest of your students, and try it. See how it goes if you can. Try it and then tell us about it through the STEM Discovery campaign that will come in the several months. So, and maybe get a chance to be chosen for one of the Scientix awards and share experience with your fellow peers, fellow colleagues throughout the STEM Discovery campaign. Before we go, I would like to inform you that this recording will be shared on social media, on Scientix social media, through Scientix TV. So everything we heard here, you will also find online, and you will be able to go back to this information and find even more through Scientix and Scientix repository and other repositories. With this, I would like to thank you a lot for joining. I would like to thank Miriam and Joanna for giving amazing presentations and answering all of our questions tonight, and for taking part in this event.
Thank you, Isidora. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and hope to see you in the STEM Discovery Campaign 2025.
And with me as well, thank you very much for joining. See you in the STEM Discovery Campaign and in some other Scientix Presents events. Have a nice day.